What we need is not more medication, but more education, because the best prescription is knowledge. This is Exposé coming to you live from Lagos, Nigeria, every Monday on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook simultaneously. I'm your regular host, Tony Akinyemi. Don't forget, what we need is not more medication, but more education, because the best prescription is knowledge. Welcome to Exposé again. I'm your regular host, Tony Akinyemi, and it's always my joy, always my pleasure to be with you. Today we are going to continue our conversation on that is the cause of disease. We created that acronym, DATIISS, that is the cause of disease. And by now I expect that everybody already knows what that is stands for. D stands for deficiency, A stands for abuse, T stands for toxicity. The first I stands for injury. The second I stands for infections and infestations, which we have been dealing with or we have dealt with already. And then the first S stands for sedentary living, and the last S stands for stress. We have dealt with the first 5, and we are currently on number 6, which is the first S, S1, sedentary living. We started that conversation on sedentary living during the last episode, and hopefully today we can conclude on sedentary living. Although, like I promised, I will be having a complete series on exercises later on. But what I want to do is just to give you some tips right now why you must not be inactive, why you must always engage in physical activity, so that you do not practice sedentary living. I've already explained what sedentary living means. So it simply means no exercise or no physical activity. That is sedentary living. Now today, I'll be focusing essentially on 3 major areas regarding sedentary living. The first one I want us to look at, by way of summary, the 5 different types of movements that can help improve our wellness. 5 types of movements. I've already mentioned 4 in the last 2 episodes. I'll be giving you the 5th type of movement today to complete that cycle. 5 types of movements for improved wellness. And then I'll be giving you some tips on body composition. That's the second part for today. And the third part, I'll be talking about 10 examples of easy exercises that all of us can practice easily at home, at work, and so on and so forth, in order to overcome the syndrome, I call it syndrome of sedentary living. Okay, so let's get started. First of all, let me summarize the 5 different types of movements that will give us physical activity or the kind of activity that we need for improved wellness. I've mentioned 4 before. I talked about the movement of food through our GI tract. That is called the transit time for food. That's the first type of movement. If that movement is sluggish, there could be problems. But if that movement is good enough and transit time for food, from the time you eat the food through your mouth till the time that the waste product is getting out through the anus, the transit time should not exceed 24 hours and it should not be less than 16 hours. Typically, between 16 hours and 24 hours, the waste product of our food must have moved through the digestive tract and be eliminated at the backyard. I call the anus the backyard. Okay, the mouth is the front yard. So whatever goes in through the front yard should be exiting, the waste should be exiting through the backyard within 16 hours and 24 hours. And that will happen, the movement of food will happen easily if you eat correctly. If you eat a lot of fiber-rich food and you avoid fiberless food, fast food, fried food, and you eat more of plant-based products, that will help that movement. That's number 1 movement of food through your GI tract. The second type of movement, which I have also alluded to, is the movement of blood around our body, our circulation. Poor circulation means poor health. Appropriate blood circulation will lead to wellness. Again, I have mentioned the fact that blood carries food and distributes around the body as if on a conveyor belt. And every tissue, every gland, every organ, indeed every cell, will take their own food from the conveyor belt. So when circulation of blood is proper, distribution of food will be adequate and proper too. Number two, blood also carries waste products from the different tissues and glands and organs of the body and takes them through the elimination organs, particularly the liver and the kidneys, and sometimes through the skin as well as we sweat, to remove toxins and waste products, metabolic waste in particular, from our system to keep our internal environment as clean as possible. So the movement of blood is the second kind of movement. The third kind of movement is the movement of lymph. Many people are not familiar with that. Your lymph is like a milky, almost, colorless kind of fluid that circulates around the body. When you sweat from your armpit, that color of fluid that you see is the color of your lymph. It eliminates a lot of waste product also from your system. So when there is the movement of lymph, and that only happens when you move your body. If you don't move your body, your lymph doesn't move because there's no pumping machine that pumps the lymph the same way that the heart pumps the blood. And then the fourth type of movement is physical exercise, which is precisely our focus in this particular episode. But then there is a fifth kind of movement, which I am going to add today to complete the cycle of 5 movements. Okay, and that is the movement of electrical signals throughout the body. You see, we have the brain in our head, we have the spinal cord through, the backbone. And those two, the brain and the spinal cord, they are referred to as our central nervous system. And a lot of electrical signals are generated in the central nervous system, and they are transmitted within the central nervous system and to the peripheral nervous system. The peripheral nervous system are all the branches, the tiny, tiny branches that branch off the brain and the central nervous system, the spinal cord, the different branches that branch to the tip of the extremities, all over our body. It's like electrical wire all over the body. Those are called the peripheral nervous system. Of course, maybe one of these days we'll be able to talk about the nervous system, and we understand that apart from the central nervous system, the peripheral nervous system, we also have what we call the autonomic nervous system, and that is also divided into sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system. And all of these things control different activities. So when signals or electrical impulses, electrical signals, traveling from point A to point B, movement from point A to point B of electrical signals within the body is impeded or impaired in any way, that also can affect our wellness. So that's the fifth kind of movement that must not be impaired in any way. The movement of electrical signals from one point to the other within the body. Once there is a free flow of electricity, as it were, within our nervous system, and there's a free flow of blood around the body, free flow of lymph around the body, and free movement of food through the GI tract, and the free movement of our musculoskeletal system, then we have completed the 5 types of movement. And if all those movements are taking place pari passu, it means that we are not having sedentary living. We are not sedentary. Okay? So those are the 5 types of movements that we need to pay attention to and make sure that they are not impaired, that they are taking place day to day. And that will be part of the contributors to our wellness and our well-being. Now, let me talk about a particular word that some of you are familiar with. Maybe some of you will be hearing it for the first time. That word is called atrophy. A-T-R-O-P-H-Y. Some people call it atrophy. Some people call it atrophy. Now, atrophy means the shrinking of a tissue or muscle in particular, when a particular gland or organ or tissue in the body begins to shrink due to lack of use, then we say that that particular tissue or gland is beginning to atrophy, okay? Now, when it comes to exercise, when it comes to the various organs, various tissues, various glands in our bodies, the more we use them, the more robust they are, the stronger and the more muscular they are. The less we use them, the more they will atrophy. Okay? If you don't use them, you lose them. So atrophy means use it or lose it. If you don't use your muscles, you will lose your muscles. Your muscles will become flabby. They will shrink. You lose your muscle tone, you lose your flexibility, you lose so many things. There are many potentials that we lose when we do not use our body parts. Okay, that is why sedentary living is not a good idea. You have to be active, physically active. You have to engage everything. When you engage your bones in strength exercises, weight-bearing exercises, then your bones will be strong. You build very strong bones. When you exercise your muscles, then your muscles will become very solid and not just flabby. Okay? And when you exercise very well, then your fat will also reduce. You won't have too much fat in your system. And then, of course, your other type of weight in your body, your water, your fluid, your blood, all of those things will be in balance. There are 4 major things that constitute our body weight: our bones, our muscle, our fat, and then the liquid, your water and your blood. Water is about 65 to 75% or thereabout of our total body composition, okay? And there is an appropriate weight balance we need to have in our system so that we can be very well. And so if you have bone strength through exercises and even brain power through engaging your mental faculty, your brain in mental exercises, that also makes your brain robust. So exercise is very good, whether it is of your brain, of your mind, or of your muscles or bones, and that will give you the right body composition. Don't go away. I'll be right back to give you further tips on body composition. Thank you very much. It is for brethren to dwell together in unity. We'll be looking at pleasantness, the blessedness of synergizing, of unity, of cooperation, of collaboration, of building synergy based on the love of Christ. You're welcome back. This is Exposé, brought to you by the Shepherd's Flock International Church. Never forget that what we need is not more medication, but more education. And the best prescription is knowledge. And today we're talking about sedentary living, which is number 6 factor regarding the causes of disease, particularly as it is believed in the natural health community. All right. So we're talking about body composition right now, and we're saying that when you are active, physically active, mentally active, then all your tissues and organs are well toned and they are properly composed. You don't have excesses and you don't have less of what you need. Everything is in proper balance. Your body composition is in proper balance. Before we went on break, I mentioned the fact that there are 4 major things that constitute your body weight. The weight of your bone and cartilage, of course, the weight of your muscles, and then your fat weight, and then your water weight. And when I say water, I include your blood as well. So, okay, so you have your bones, your muscles, your fat, and your water and blood. So, each of these 4 must carry a certain percentage of your total body weight. So these things that make up your body weight, they compose your body weight. That's what we refer to by body composition. So body composition is the proportion of fat and non-fat mass. You have fat mass in your body and non-fat mass in your body. A healthy body composition is one that includes a lower percentage of body fat and a higher percentage of non-fat mass. A lower percentage of fat as part of your weight and a higher percentage of non-fat weight constituting your body weight. And that non-fat weight includes your muscles, your bones, your organs, your glands, and what have you. But the fat weight should be less than the non-fat weight for your body to be properly constituted. So what constitutes your fat weight in your body and what constitutes your non-fat mass? Your fat weight can be found in your muscle because even inside the muscle, the different muscle groups in our body, they have fat inside of them. I mean, those of you who still eat beef, if you've seen a cow that has a hunchback, okay, if you take the tissue of that hunchback, you see that it is an admixture of muscles and fat, a lot of fat inside. So muscles too can contain fat, okay? So your body fat can be found in muscle tissue. It can also be found under the skin, That's called subcutaneous fat. The fat that is under the skin is called subcutaneous fat. That's why those who tell us to remove the skin of our chicken before we eat them, the reason they are saying that is to reduce the amount of fat that you eat that is under the skin of that chicken. Because you see, the way they raise chicken these days, they raise them in the poultry, they don't allow them to forage around and to move around and to find their own food. They keep them confined and they feed them and feed them. Sometimes they feed them 24 hours so that they can quickly reach market size so that they can sell quickly and make money. And what they are doing is that they are actually building the weight of that chicken, but the percentage of fat that they are building into that chicken is higher than normal. And so they say before you eat it, okay, peel off the skin because there's a lot of subcutaneous fat, which is the second place you find a lot of fat deposit within the body. So fat deposit can be in the muscle tissue, fat deposit can be under the skin, which is called subcutaneous fat. And then there are also fats around the different organs of the body, around the heart, around the kidneys, and what have you. And that one is called visceral fat. So you have fat embedded inside your muscles, you have fat under your skin, and then you have fat around the internal organs of the body. And the fat around the internal organ of the body is called visceral fat. That type of fat is the most dangerous type of fat when it comes to health. And that's why when you see people who are, obese, particularly who are pot-bellied, inside their body, they have visceral fat, a lot of visceral fat, which is very, very dangerous, very, very dangerous. The good news is that when you begin to do stuff to lose weight and melt away excess fat in your body, you find out that the visceral fat, incidentally and luckily for us, is the first one to melt away before the other ones begin to melt away. And that's good news for us. Okay, so body fat can be found in the muscle, under the skin, and around organs. Then there is non-fat mass or non-fat weight of the body, which includes your bone, which includes water, it includes muscles, organs, and tissues. Now, this is what we call lean tissue, L-E-A-N tissue. Non-fat mass tissues are metabolically more active than the fat mass. That means that the non-fat mass of your body will burn more calories for energy, whereas your fat mass does not burn calories for energy. So if two people are weighing 80 kilograms each, maybe Mr. A is weighing 80 kg and Mr. B is weighing 80 kg, okay, both of them weigh 80 kg, and maybe they are of the same height as well, and they have the same weight. But Mr. A has muscle weight of, let's say, 40 kg and fat weight of 20 kg. Okay, muscle weight 40 kg, fat weight 20 kg. But Mr. B has the opposite. Maybe Mr. B has muscle weight only 30 kg and fat weight of about 50 kg. You see, the difference is that the person who, even though the total weight for both of them is the same, but this one has more muscle weight than fat weight. But this one has more fat weight than muscle weight. When both of them eat, this person that has more muscle than fat will burn the calories faster, because muscle will burn calories much more because they are more metabolically active. Then the fat weight does not burn calories. Okay, that's what we're talking about. So we're saying that non-fat mass tissues are more metabolically active, meaning that they burn calories for energy, while fat weight or fat mass does not. So you see, that is the problem. When your weight is more of fat, you don't burn calories well. And so you continue to pile on more fat, and then it becomes a vicious cycle. But if you develop more muscles, stronger bones, and bigger muscles, then your metabolism goes up. You are able to eat more and burn it off because you have more muscles in your body than fat. Okay? That is the difference between body fat and muscle mass in the body. Now, do we need fat in our body at all? Of course, yes, we do. If you don't have enough fat in your system, that also is not good. Okay? Some fat is necessary for overall health. And we call the amount of fat, the percentage of fat that you need in your body to maintain wellness, we call that essential fat. So you need a certain amount of fat. In fact, if a woman does not have enough essential fat in her body, it will affect even her menstrual cycle. In fact, she may stop menstruating. She goes into what scientists describe as amenorrhea. In other words, the cessation or the absence of menstruation. Amenorrhea. There's primary amenorrhea, there is secondary amenorrhea. Now, when a woman burns most of her essential fat, that's why when you see some athletes, women athletes, who have burnt off all their fats and all they have is just muscle all over the place, some of them go into amenorrhea. They don't menstruate anymore because you need a certain amount of essential fat in your body to be able to run certain activities in your body. We need those fats to do a lot of things, to generate hormones and so on and so forth. So essential fat does some fantastic things in the body. It helps to protect internal organs. They serve as shock absorber. They serve as insulation, as it were, to protect, internal organs. That's part of the functions of essential fat. Number two, they also help us to store fuel for energy. Fat is like a warehouse where you store fuel for future use. In case you are going through a long period of drought or fasting and you need supply of energy, your body begins to convert the stored fat in your body into ketone bodies. And the ketone bodies replace glucose to provide energy to function for your system. So that's the second function of essential fat. Number three, essential fat also helps to regulate important body hormones. So we do need fat. But you may also have excess storage of fat as well as non-essential body fat, and then that is when it becomes a problem. Now, I'll quickly give you the percentages of fat for men and women that we consider normal. And if it is outside of that range, then it becomes abnormal. Don't go away. I'll give you that when I come back. I believe you've been having a terrific time with me on Exposé with Tony Akinyemi. We have great resources that will bless your life available to you on healthy living and many other life subjects. We have various platforms where you can obtain material for your blessing. You can obtain some of our work, our books, particularly on Amazon.com. How to Regain and Retain Your Health is a book title that I highly recommend. It's available in digital format, Kindle edition, as well as in printed version. We also have juices and smoothies for healing, health, and pleasure. You can also find these items at another website, familabooks.com, F-A-M-I-L-A books.com. And for those of you who are in Nigeria, you can reach us at the Shepherd Store, 18 Shogunle Street, off Mobolaji Bankantoni Way, behind HFS Place, to get our materials. We have over 600 recorded audio CDs, DVDs, VCDs, and MP3s on various subjects. All these things that I teach on Exposé are already available in their complete format: how to reverse hypertension naturally, how to reverse diabetes naturally, how to reverse arthritis naturally, and many other wonderful titles. I encourage you to visit this website, amazon.com, pamelaBooks.com, or TSF bookstores in Ikeja, Lagos, Nigeria, and you will be blessed reading those materials and sharing them with your friends and family. Thank you once again. God bless. You're welcome back to Exposé, and I'm your regular host, Tony Akinyemi. We're talking about body composition right now, and we're saying that when you are physically active, mentally active, and you are not sedentary, then you are able to achieve a balanced or an appropriate body composition. Your body weight is composed of your bones, your tissue, your muscles, your fat, and then, of course, water and blood. So when you have them in the appropriate ratio, in the appropriate percentages, then you are fit and you are okay. But if you have them tilted, if you have them out of balance, then that can set the stage for certain kinds of diseases. That can become a risk factor for certain kind of diseases. So what I want to do right now before we sign off for today is to give you the body fat percentages that we consider normal for men and women of different categories. And then after that, I'll give you 10 simple examples or 10 examples of simple exercises that all of us can do around us in order to maintain appropriate body composition, in order to help the various movements that I mentioned earlier today, 5 types of movements within our body. You want to keep things moving, you want to keep things going. Somebody has said, and I cannot agree more, that one of the secrets of wellness is movement. And we have identified, or we have defined or described 5 types of movements. Okay? Right now, I want to talk about body fat composition. Now, for essential fat in the body, the ideal is for women to have probably about 10 to 13% of their body weight made up of fat. But for men, 2 to 5%, ideally, of essential fat. Now, for athletes, what we find in the average is that women normally have 14 to 20% of their body weight as fat, whereas men usually have 6 to 13% of their body as fat. Most athletes that are well built, they have that. Now, for those who are not competitive athletes, but who are very fit, maybe because they exercise regularly, moderately, but regularly, they eat right, and they manage their stress and all of that, they are within the range of what we call fitness level. Women will normally typically have 21 to 24% of their body weight made up of fat. And men will have approximately 14 to 17% of their body weight made up of fat. Then, for most people, they are not within that fitness range. But we call it the acceptable range. Even if you are not in the fitness range, you can still function acceptably in the acceptable range. The acceptable range for women is to have about 25% to not more than 31% of their body mass, their total weight, made up of fat. So if the total amount of fat in your body represents about 25 to 31% of your total body weight, that is not ideal, but that is acceptable still, okay? For men, it should be about 18% to 24%. 18% to 24% of your body weight made up of mass. That's an acceptable range, not the ideal range. Okay, the ideal for men is 14 to 17% of your body as fat. But 18 to 24% is still considered acceptable. But for women, if the percentage of fat in your body, the total fat in your body is more than 32% of your total weight, that is not acceptable. That is obesity par excellence. The total fat in your body, if it constitutes more than 32% of your total weight, that is not good. You need to do something to melt that fat away. And for men, if the total fat in your body constitutes more than 25% of your body weight, that is too much. That is obesity, probably morbid obesity. And you need to do something to melt it away. So what you do is you melt away the amount of fat in your body and then you build up the amount of muscles and bones in your body. You can still maintain the same weight, but you are melting the fat and you are building the muscle. Now, the exercises that will help you to build your muscle, I've described that earlier in the previous one of our previous episodes, and that is when you do strength exercises or weight-bearing exercises. That will help to build your muscles and your bone. And when you also eat the appropriate kind of food, proteins, rich proteins, good proteins, that will help you to build your muscles, okay? But when you eat a lot of carbohydrate, too much carbohydrate, particularly refined carbohydrate, your body will be converting that to fat, and you'll be building more fat weight than muscle weight. Is that all right? So that is your body composition. Now, let me sign off today with these 10 examples of simple physical exercises that all of us can do in order to help maintain a good body composition and lay the foundation for long-term wellness. The first one is whenever you go anywhere in your car, to the shopping mall, to the supermarket, or even to the office, usually most people will look for the closest parking slot to the entrance of the hallway or the supermarket. Make it a habit to always park far away in the parking lot so that you can trek from your car to the shopping mall or to the supermarket. That's one good way to get exercise, okay? Good way to get exercises. Make sure you park far away from the entrance to the shopping mall or entrance to your office or entrance to the supermarket or entrance to the church, and then walk the rest of the distance. You are tactically incorporating physical activity into your day. Number two, when you get to your office or to any high-rise building that has an elevator, don't go through the elevator. If possible, go through the stairs. When you go through the stairs, that also gives you a little opportunity to exercise. Then number three, you can also buy a bicycle, either stationary cycle at home or an active dynamic bicycle that you can ride within your community. I mean, by the special grace of God, in about 5 weeks or thereabout, 5 to 6 weeks, precisely on May 1, I'll be celebrating my 60th birthday to the glory of God. I'm looking forward to that day. Now, when I turned 50 10 years ago, some of the gifts, people gave me all kinds of gifts, and I'm very appreciative even up until now. But some of the gifts they gave me when I was 50 included 2 bicycles. Some of my friends and colleagues actually bought 2 bicycles for me. I took one and I gave one to my son, and we will ride and ride and ride within our estate. In fact, I just gave out my own bicycle last year after 9 years, okay? I gave it out last year when I turned 59, okay? I used it from age 50 till that time. So bicycle is very good to exercise your body. Number 4 is brisk walking. You know, you just get into your estate and just walk, whap, 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 whap. 15 minutes down the road, 15 minutes back. That's exercise. Number 5, trampoline. I'm sure they will show you the image of a trampoline right now. Technical, please, can you show the image of a trampoline? You will see the trampoline is usually a round thing that has something that looks like a net. You stand on it and you are bouncing and bouncing. Now, don't let the impact be too much. If possible, let the soles of your feet remain on the surface of the trampoline and let it just, bounce you and bounce you and bounce you. It particularly helps your lymph to circulate properly when you bounce on the trampoline. That's a very good way. Then skipping rope is another wonderful way to keep things going, to keep things circulating, to keep things moving. Very, very simple exercise you can do at home. And then, of course, if you know how to swim, you can go to the swimming pool to swim. And if you have a swimming pool in your house, that's a good idea. That's one of the exercises that helps you to exercise almost all your muscle groups in your body. Number 8 is table tennis. You can buy table tennis and put it in your compound, in your house. It can also be played as an indoor game. In fact, it's better as an indoor game than an outdoor game. And you and your son, you and your daughter, you and your spouse, you and your friends, you can play table tennis and move around and move around. Very wonderful exercise. And then number 9 is badminton. Badminton is also something that you play with a racket with somebody on the other side, and that exercises your body. Number 10 is squash. Squash is a kind of racket and ball sport where you bounce that thing on the wall and your partner also. In fact, one person can also play just to exercise. Just keep hitting it on the wall and keep hitting it and keep hitting it and keep hitting it, and that exercises your muscle group. Now, these are 10 simple exercises that we can incorporate daily into our activities. You don't have to do all 10 in one day, but that gives you options. And when you begin to do this regularly, you find out that your fitness level will rise. Thank you once again for your time with me. We look forward to seeing you again, same time, on the same platform next week, every Monday, 8 p.m. West African time. And I am very happy to always be your host. I encourage you to please tell your friends, and tell your neighbors, tell your colleagues about Exposé, and tell them to go onto our YouTube channel and subscribe. Tell them to like us on Facebook and also follow us on Instagram. And when you're on YouTube, click on that bell, the notification bell. So whenever we come live, your device will notify you that we are live. And this is a platform where you can get information for your transformation. For to be uninformed is to be deformed, but to be informed is to be transformed. And don't forget, what we need is not more medication, but more education. And the best prescription is what? Knowledge. You got it. God bless you. Have a wonderful evening today. What we need is not more medication, but more education, because the best prescription is knowledge. This is Exposé coming to you live from Lagos, Nigeria, every Monday on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook simultaneously. I'm your regular host, Tony Akinyemi. Don't forget, what we need is not more medication, but more education, because the best prescription is knowledge.